Hello, welcome to She Boss Talk. I am Shante Roddy. I am coming on today to provide an update regarding the SBA administered Shutter Venue Operators Grant Program. This is a new grant under the Consolidated Appropriations Act that was passed in December of 2020. So this is for those live venues and cultural arts businesses. So I will be going through an overview. I will be sharing my screen with the updated information from the SBA. We are anticipating that this grant will be rolling out in the next few weeks in early April, which is around the corner. So again, if you or your peers qualify, if this is pertaining to you or your peers, please share this information with them, tag them in this video so that they can start preparing now for when the grant actually opens up. So again, this is this started off as a $15 billion grant program. So it's not a loan, it's a grant up to $10 million for your business under the American Rescue Plan Act. They added on another $1.2 billion to this program. As I mentioned before, the SBA this is new. Running or administering grant programs is new for the SBA. They usually administer loans. So they are actually working on standing up a new system, new technology to operate these programs. So there's going to be some additional things that it won't be on the screen share, but I will notify you of that. You will need to have in order to be able to successfully apply. And as you're coming in, if you could just hit that thumbs up, love button wherever you are tuning in from, so more people see this, tag people that this may apply to, and share out this video in our channel so that entrepreneurs and small business owners who these programs apply to, they can get the help that they need. They need a financial lifeline. So that's why all these programs are rolling out. Now, I have other videos on this program, but as the SBA updates their program information, as we get closer to the application period, there's more details to be revealed. And so there have been more details. So those are the things that I'm going to walk through today. And if you have any questions pertaining to, again, the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant, or some people refer to it as the live venue, right? So we know live venues have been hard hit, museums, performance venues, theaters, cultural arts centers, those that actually represent talent, artists, and comedians and things like that. All of those are included in being eligible for this grant program. So I'm going to share my screen and walk through some of those details for you. There's going to be 3 specific documents or screens on the SBA website that I'm going to share. As always, links to resources and information you need to apply for grants are in the description and in the show notes, as well as displayed on the screen. And you can always visit sba.gov for additional information regarding this program and other programs that are administered by the SBA. So I'm going to start with just providing you an overview, because this, for some of you all, may be the first time that you are seeing or hearing about this grant program. You can see I'm on the SBA's website. You should be able to see it clearly there. Shout out to everybody that is tuning in. Just let me know that you can hear me and see me clearly so we make sure everybody gets the information that they need. So again, this is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. You can see as we scroll down the page, it's saying that this is emergency assistance. This is COVID-19 related relief that is administered by the SBA. If you scroll down, it's giving you information that you can actually click on. These are hyperlink program details, supplemental documents. They're telling you how to apply, the amount of the SVO grant. That's the abbreviation for the grant. So you can determine before you even apply how much you will be qualifying for this grant, how to apply, allowable uses of the funds. We'll be talking about that. They also provide some video tutorials. So there are going to be a lot more webinars and tutorials coming out, and additional information as well. So again, Was established as part of the Economic Aid to Hard-Hit Small Businesses, Nonprofits, and Venues Act that was signed into law back in December of 2020. This has $15 billion and another $1.25 billion that has been added under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. And you can see that it clearly says that they're administering it through their Office of Disaster Assistant. Eligible applicants. So if you are eligible, you may qualify for grants that equal up to 45% of your gross revenue or gross income, with the maximum amount available for a single grant award of $10 million. Let's say that again. $10 million, not 10,000, $10 million per business. There's $2 billion that is reserved or set aside for applicants that have 50 full-time employees or less. I highly recommend, if you see here, it says sign up for email alerts. If this applies to you, definitely want to get on their email list and be alerted as soon as the program opens, because again, 16 billion sounds like a lot, and it is, but there's been a lot of businesses, millions, that have been hard hit. So we can expect that this will be highly competitive and that the funding will run out. So you definitely don't want to wait till the last minute to prepare, and you don't want to wait till the last minute to apply. They talk about the supplemental documents, and I'm going to go through a checklist that you will see on here. You can find the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant frequently asked questions. So they already are filtering questions, and the ones that are most frequently asked, probably similar questions that you have, you can find here on the website by just clicking the link. You can see the eligibility requirements and the preliminary application checklist. Now, this is important. This preliminary application checklist that we're going to be going through here while I'm on the video. I always say, when you're applying for a grant, they will always tell you what the eligibility requirements are, what the terms and conditions. They're providing you with a checklist that you can actually start using right now to make sure you have everything you need for when the application opens and you're not struggling and having a hard time trying to submit your application. They also have a diagram, which is a cross-program eligibility on the SBA coronavirus relief. They have not updated this, so I want to let you know one of the changes that was made in the American Rescue Plan is that you can now both apply for PPP and get it, and apply for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. So they want you to be able to get the funding you need for right now, and then also allow you to be able to apply for this funding when it opens. You just, again, can't use it for the same thing for the same period of time. So you have to be very careful with that, but you can apply for and get funded for PPP as well as the SVO grant. Now, who can apply? So I said live venues. That includes live venue operators and promoters, theatrical producers, live performance artists, organization operators, relevant museum operators, zoos, aquariums who meet specific criteria. So we have zoos here. We have small aquariums and things like that are operated by small business owners. So if we have that here, I know that those apply across the country. Small movie theaters, we have those here as well. So if you're a motion picture theater operator, you would be included. Talent representatives, as I said before. So if you manage or represent a talent, whether it's a performing artist, a comedian, or some other industry person, then you would be eligible for this as well. And then each business entity owned by an eligible entity that is also meets the eligibility requirements. So this is something to know. So we know most of these grants, especially if they're COVID related, these programs, they have a starting point of when you had to be able to prove that you are in operation. So for this program is February 29th of 2020. So you must have been in operation as of February 29, 2020. You must be a venue or promoter must not have applied for PPP, but that they need to remove that because that changed with the American Rescue Plan Act, so you don't have to worry about that. Again, you can apply for PPP as well. Amount of the SVO grant, you can see it here. Your grant amount will either be for eligibility entities operate in operation on January 1st of 2019. Grants will be for an amount equal to 45% of your 2019 gross earnings or gross earned revenue, or $10 million, whichever is less. So that's if you were in operation on January 1st of 2019. For those entities that began operation after January 1 of 2019, grants will be the average monthly gross earned revenue for each full month that you were in operation during 2019 multiplied by 6 or 10 million, whichever is less. Okay, so it's giving you information on how to apply. It's clearly telling us that they're not currently accepting applications, but they're preparing to open the applications in April. They also note here that the funding there will be set aside $2 billion for those with 50 employees or less during the first 59 days of this program. First priority goes to those that had a loss of 90% or greater. So they want to get the hardest hit first. That will be the 14 days. Second priority are those entities that had suffered 70% or greater. And then the third priority are those that had a 25% or greater revenue loss between one quarter of 2019 and the corresponding quarter in 2020. So before, I told you a lot of these programs, you will have to show comparison of gross receipts between what you made in 2020 and what you made in 2019. And you always want to compare apples to apples. So if they ask you to compare a period, a quarter, or a month, you will be comparing the same month for 2019 as it is for 2020. And that third priority group, they will begin processing or accepting beginning 28 days after the first and second priority period. Now, this is another grant program that has a supplemental grant. So not only can you get up to $10 million, but you also can get supplemental grant, right? So supplemental funding that's available after all priority periods have passed, okay? Recipients of first, second, and third priority round awards who suffered a 70% greater or greater loss for the most recent calendar quarter will qualify for the supplemental funding. Now, how can you use these funds? Okay, so they will always tell you what you can use the money for. I've already explained multiple times, you cannot use it on personal expenses. This is specifically for your business. This is not to purchase new businesses or anything like that. This is for payroll, rent payments, utility payments, any scheduled mortgage payments, not including prepayment of principal, scheduled debt payments, not including prepayment of principal, on any indebtedness incurred in the ordinary course of doing business prior to February 15th of 2020. Workers' protection expenditures, payments to independent contractors that you may have, not to exceed $1,000 in annual compensation per contractor. Other ordinary expenses, ordinary business expenses, including maintenance costs. Let me back up really quickly. So we're saying here, payments to independent contractors. That's really good because usually, we talk about, like with the Paycheck Protection Program, is per employee, which are W-2 workers. That's a different. The W-2s are employees. Contractors are paid on 1099. So hopefully you are paying independent contractors 1099, so you have record of those payments. State and local taxes and fees you can spend on any licensing fees, administrative costs, operating leases that were in effect as of February 15th of 2020. Insurance payments, you can spend the money on advertising, production, transportation, capital expenditures related to producing a theatrical or live performance production. but they may not be primary use of funds. Okay, so you can spend it on advertising, production, capital expenditures related to producing a theatrical or live performance, but it cannot be the primary use of funds. Grantees may not use the awards to, you cannot buy real estate, make payments on loans originated after February 15th of 2020. You cannot make investments or loans. You cannot make contributions or other payments to or on the behalf of political parties, political committees, or candidates for an election, and any other prohibited by the administrator. They note here, which is really good because I talk about documentation and how important it is. Grantee record keeping. Grantees will be required to maintain documentation demonstrating your compliance with eligibility and all other requirements of the SVO grant program. They must retain employment records for 4 years. Hopefully you're already doing this, but you must maintain them for 4 years following the receipt of a grant, and retain all records for 3 years if you plan on getting this grant. Now, when we were on the call the other day with some top leaders, including leaders at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, one of the things that they noted is that this program, along with the restaurant venues program, are two of the grant programs, because there's so much funding here that if you don't use the funding, you may be asked to return it, right? So we know regular grants are like that, like in the nonprofit sector. If you don't, you have a certain amount of grants that you apply for, grant funding, and if you don't use it, you have to return it, okay? So that's something that you can expect from this program as well. So know what you're applying for, keep accurate record, use it on the expenses that they're saying. If you have questions related, they actually have, the SBA has an email address that you can send questions to at svogrant@sba.gov. So any inquiries regarding the SVO grant, you can send it there. So that's the brief overview of this program. I'm also going to share with you the eligibility. They created like a 2-page document that makes it a little bit easier and breaks down the different requirements and by the different like categories of eligibility here. So I'm going to share that with you as well. I'm not going to go through the entire document, but I am going to just briefly point out some key areas here. This is also, you can find this on their website. You see again here, SBA eligibility requirements for the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. Eligibility requirements. This is what a business must satisfy, and all applicable requirements per category. So just went over again at the top, the first page, general requirements, which I've already reviewed, right? So I told you that you had to be in business as of February 29th. Gross revenues, you must have gross revenues during any of the first, second, third, or fourth quarter of 2020 that demonstrate not less than 25% reduction of gross revenue of such business during the corresponding quarter of 2019. So I mentioned that as well. So you must, for this program, you have to have a reduction of 25% or more, right? And then it's a phased approach of rollout depending how severe your loss in 2020 was, okay? Then it's telling you about the ownership restrictions, employees, you can't employ any more than 500 employees. You can be publicly traded. You own or operate venues relevant to museums, motion picture theaters, talent agencies, talent management companies, and so forth. Prohibited activities. All these programs always will tell you what is prohibited. So if you're not sure if you're ineligible or not, they all have said that if you are in the business of like gambling or anything of a sexual nature, that you will be prohibited. You can ignore this last bullet that talks about you can't get the PPP loan because that was changed. Again, if you're just coming in, you can get funded PPP and get this SVO grant as well. This is the second page that really breaks down. So you can visit this page here. This is the second additional requirements. And what this does is it breaks down the business requirements, operational requirements, and facility requirements based on your area of business. So it has one column for live venue operators or promoters, theatrical producers, live performance, arts organizations. It has another column for those that are motion picture theater operators, another column for those that are museum operators, and then another column for those that are talent representatives. So I know a lot of business owners that fit into that talent representative category. So they may not think because it says live venues, they don't have a live venue per se, but they represent talent that performs at live venues. You can still qualify. So if you know someone that is like this, please, again, refer them to this video and to our channel. It will always tell you that no matter which category that this is, that you're qualifying for, it must be your principal business, right? So it can't be like your secondary service offering or a secondary business. So even for talent representatives, it's saying quite clearly here, not less than 70% of its operations are engaged in representing or managing 2 or more artists or entertainers. So if only you're managing 10% of your business is doing that, then you would not qualify for this grant. So again, it must be your principal work in order to qualify for this grant. Okay, so I hope that's clear for you guys. And then this next one is the preliminary application checklist that I talked about a short while ago that you really need to get. And I will make sure I actually drop this. I will drop this in the comments of the video just to make sure you have it. And I would highly recommend you bookmark it or save it somewhere on a cloud drive or bookmark it on the SBA website so you have it. And then just start going through the checklist. Here it is right here. Bring it, make sure it's on the screen. Okay, so it's here on the screen. This is the checklist that I'm going to read through. And this was updated as of March 5th of this year. And it's saying, again, just giving you an overview of the program, and it's in bold letters. It's stating that this is not an all-inclusive list, and additional documents may be required to meet eligibility requirements. But this is a start for what you need, and it also points you back to the website and the frequently asked questions. Now, what are they asking you for in this checklist? So checklists are so helpful. So you can start going through this right now. Background documents, what are they going to ask you for? You're going to need a written statement of need and assurance, because again, this is up to $10 million grant. So even when they're not $10 million, even if it's $5,000, $1,000, they will ask you for a statement, some type of statement of need. This is something you should have on hand. If you don't know how to write these, get the cheat sheet. The link is on the screen. It actually has various written statements that I've written to win grants. And for those of you that are challenged in writing different statements for various scenarios, you can use that and then start working on your statement of need, letting them know why you need this, how you were impacted, what they may ask you, what are you planning on using the grant funds for? They would definitely ask you that. So your corporate documents, you need your articles of incorporation, certification of existence, certification of organization, your state LLC agreement, certification of formation, or articles of information. So they're giving you these different terms because it may vary by state. Basically, these are your registration documents to show that you are legitimate, that you are legally operating in the state that you are operating. Government issued photo ID, front and back, is regularly requested. Again, these are different layers to just verify who you are in your business. You will need an employee list with job titles. So you may have employees, but you may not be keeping a list right now. Not every business is organized, but it is upon you to get organized, get your list of employees with their job titles and their employee status, and you must note if they are full-time or part-time. You will also need a tax exempt status letter if you are a nonprofit entity, because this is for nonprofit and for-profit businesses. So if you're a nonprofit entity, you must have that tax exempt status letter. A financial document. So I say all the time, just depending on the grant, they may ask you for various types of financial statements and documents, reports. It's all the same. For this program, they're going to ask you, you're going to need to provide, it's required 2019 tax return, 2020 if they are filed, quarterly income statements for 2019, 2020. You're going to need the copy of your most recent audited financial statement 2019 or single audit if applicable, or links to the website where the report is located. And then you're going to need indirect cost rate agreement from cousin and agency if that is applicable to you. If it's not, then you don't have to worry about it. You will need payroll statements covering to February 29th of 2020. Okay, so you will need payroll statements. There are some forms, and they're telling you where you can get them that you will also need. So and they're hyperlinked in here. So you could just pull it, fill it out, sign it, date, whatever you need to do in advance. Just make sure that you read through, follow the instructions. So they're asking you for Form SF-424B. This is assurances of non-construction programs, and it says via grants.gov. So let me stop right here before I read through the other ones and let you know this is one of the key differences between this grant program and some of the other ones, like the Targeted EIDL grant and the PPP, forgivable loan program. For this program, you will be required to register in the government award system. This is the system that any business that wants to do business with the government through contracting or government contracts or government grants has to be registered in. So you will need a DUNS number. You get that from Duns and Bradstreet. You can get it for free. You will need to register in SAM. You can do that for free, but it takes time. It takes time for you to apply for the DUNS number. You do that, then it takes days for them to send it back, right? And then you will need that and save that in a safe place. You register with SAM. It must come back that your registration is successful. They will email you back. If it's not successful, it fails. It means that something was wrong with your registration. There may have been something that did not match with the IRS, because they are matching your information with other government agencies. And so, but once it comes back as succeeded, then you definitely want to save that email, but they will know that you are registered in the system. In order to, so this grant will most likely, because because you have to register in SAM, in order to apply for government grants, you go through grants.gov. And in order to apply or even register with grants.gov, you must be registered already in the SAM system. So you see how these government, this is how the regular government grants process works. And it's a little bit different than other grant programs. So you need to get familiar now, get the DUNS number, get registered, and then start working through some of these forms. So you would need the SBA form, and you can simply, you can simply Google these forms and will pop up. Okay. Or you could just click on the clickable link, which I will provide here in the comments. So you will need SBA form 480, which is the size status declaration, because the SBA has different, they have different validations for what they consider a small business. And it's based really on your industry. So there are industry codes. They will most likely ask you for your industry code as well, like some of the other programs like PPP. But they have those. That's how they determine if you're a small business, based on their various definitions and based on the industry. You will need a certification of a drug-free workplace. That is here hyperlinked. You will need SBA Form 1623, which is the certification regarding disbarment, suspension, and other responsibility matters, because you cannot get government grants if you have been disbarred or suspended or have any type of fraud related activity in relation to the government. They're just not going to give you money. And then Form 1711, which is certification regarding lobbying and disclosure of lobbying activities, because I know that they limit how much lobbying you can do. And I know before with some of these programs, you couldn't do any lobbying, right, as a business, but they really cap it off on how much you can lobby, if you can lobby at all. Then they have applicant specific documents. So you see, even this is a 4-page checklist right here. So you can understand how this is going to take time. So while the SBA is preparing, right, to launch this thing, to open up the applications, set aside time in your schedule to go through this checklist and make sure that you have everything. Create your Google Docs folder or OneDrive folder, Dropbox folder, and label it SVO grant. And just start dropping your, use team members if you have them, and start pulling this information together, because you can see it's quite a bit of information that you're going to have to provide if you want to get up to $10 million. Okay, you just have to decide, is it worth it for you to get the grant money that you need to keep your doors open, right? So applicant specific documents, live venue operator, promoter. So they have separated it by the different categories, like I mentioned the last time. So if you're a live venue operator, a theatrical producer, a live performance arts organization operator, you will need to have your floor plan documents. You need a document to show that the venue has audio mixing equipment, public address system, and lighting ring. You will need to be able to show marketing materials, listing live events, right? The title, the showtime, the price, and entry requirements. It may include printed materials and social media posts. You will need a box office ticketing report that shows date, artist, ticket prices, numbers of tickets sold, and provide a report for all February 2020 performances. If the venue was in operation but had no performances in February 2020, select 1 month between January 9th, 2019 and January 2020 and provide that report. Okay. Motion picture operator. So what they're going to ask of you to provide is a floor plan, your marketing materials, just like as above, your box office ticketing reports. If you're a museum, they're going to want your floor plan, and you're going to need to provide your state or local COVID-19 occupation restriction demonstrating limited capacity. And if you are a talent representative, that means you're representing artists that provide live performances. You need to show examples of contractual consultant agreements, right? So hopefully you're using contracts, right, and agreements when you're representing talent, because you will need to provide those. And then venues used and evidence of bookings, right? Then list all individuals or acts represented and venues for which they contracted to perform in 2019 and 2020. Okay. And then it gives you some detail, and I won't read through these, but those that I went through, it will give you like detailed description of the information that they're asking for, like the written statement of needs. So it's saying what you need to provide under there, like a good faith certification, that the uncertainty of their current economic conditions makes this grant necessary, right? So someone asked me when I was speaking on the restaurant revitalization grant yesterday, well, what if everything was fine? Maybe you didn't have a loss, you did well. Then this grant program may not be for you. You need to demonstrate that you had an economic loss, right? That you were impacted and you need help recovering. Okay, so if that doesn't if that's not pertaining to you, then this is probably not the grant that you should be applying for, because your documentation that you provide will need to show, again, at least a 25% decrease or more. But again, in these 4 pages, it just going into more detail about specifics about the different the different types of information that you will need to submit to the SBA. Okay, so that is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant Program. I have talked about the checklist. I provided you an overview. The checklist is going to help you get prepared for when the application's open, which we're anticipating in the next few weeks. But we're looking in April for this grant program. Just going to see if there are any questions here. Now, a lot of the restaurants, these people. So a lot of times, and I would ask those of you that are watching right now, their heads down, like even in groups that I'm in, a lot of the business aren't networking and things like that because they really have boots on the ground. They're really trying to keep their business afloat. Their heads down, like in their business. So it is really helpful if you share the information. Go to them, just say, look, did you know there's a grant coming out? I think you may qualify for it. Check this out. Otherwise, they would not have a clue. They may not even be on social media. Okay. So, if no one ever gives them the information, they won't even know that they have an opportunity to get up to $10 million. So we appreciate you all sharing. I ask you to continue sharing this information with your fellow business owners and entrepreneurs. I will bring on more information on the other stimulus programs that are rolling out. There are so many of them. As they roll out, I will continue to put them on our grant tracker. This is our resource page for everything federal stimulus, state grant programs, a national, international grant, and pitch competitions. We are putting the resources there at our website at www.shebosstalk.com. The link to the tracker is in the description because there's like 15 different programs between grants and credits, tax credits for small businesses. I just want to make sure that debt relief, I want to make sure that you all have access to that information so you can work with your accountants, get the tax credits, and apply for these different programs that are out here so you can have a financial lifeline for your business because the money is out there. But like one of the directors said yesterday for the Economic Council of the White House, it's not enough for them to roll out these billions of dollars in programs and it's not getting to the people that need them most. So sometimes there's language barriers. Sometimes, people are just not in the know, but we rely on each other to be sharing, and sharing is caring. So I appreciate you all tuning in. I hope this has been beneficial to you. As the SBA rolls out more information, I will come on and provide more videos. I think this is my 4th or 5th one on the SVO grant. So feel free to go check out the other videos as well. But I think this is the probably most comprehensive to date and will be the best one to prepare you to get started for when the application open. So until we talk again, which will be later this evening when I come on at 6:00 p.m. Eastern for the regular stimulus update, because there again, news is coming. Stimulus news is coming out so quickly. They're rolling out these programs. So you definitely want to make sure you're in the know with all the other programs that are being rolled out as well. Thank you so much. Continue to be the boss with amplified impact. Continue to stay safe and in good health. Have a wonderful day.